In 2017, tabletop games received $137 million on Kickstarter compared to $101 million in 2016. I swear, tabletop games are growing rapidly. I mean, games in general have received over $900 million on Kickstarter. And in today's video, I want to get into some of the practical tips that I have for you when it comes to creating your first tabletop or your first board game on Kickstarter or on Indiegogo. My first tip for you if you're looking to launch a board game or a tabletop game with crowdfunding is to study some of the other examples that are out there. You know, there is a format now you can actually follow and put into place if you want to get funding. And this is what I study, this is what other people in the industry study, and we share those results with you in different free education like this and also some of my paid courses and products. So I think that a good place to get started when it comes to studying industry examples is to just go and browse around on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and take a look at some of these different games. If possible, fund a few of them. You don't have to throw a large amount of money. It could be $1, it could be $5, but you're gonna see how that creator actually does their marketing, how it feels to receive communications from them. And in addition, on my podcast, I'm going to link down below to actually some of the interviews that I've conducted with individuals who have done 20 gaming, tabletop game projects on Kickstarter, people who have raised millions of dollars with tabletops, a lot of different great industry examples. So I'm just gonna link to them down below. Listen to their interviews, take notes if possible, see what they're doing right, and get a sense of like, okay, how is this creator going into this actual project? What strategies are they using? How are they getting funding? What is their mindset behind this? This is a really good thing. You wanna look at different podcasts that are out there. You know, you don't have to go, just necessarily with mine. There are a lot of different industry examples that you can use to learn a bit about this. One great podcast that I did was Kickstarter board game funding secrets, and another one was a crash course on Kickstarter for board games. They are chock full of great information. The second tip that I have for you is to nail down your logistics ASAP. ASAP, as soon as possible. And here's why. Sometimes I will be talking with someone who is thinking of raising money for a board game, and it's a great idea. It's a killer idea. Maybe they've even done, like, they created a prototype at home, and they've done a little bit of play testing, but they haven't yet sought out a manufacturer. They haven't yet sought out someone to do the artwork. They haven't sought out a team, basically, that they were going to need to assemble to deliver this board game to the actual public. And there's only so much I can do to help someone, because until you actually have that nailed down, you have down the logistics, where you're going to get this thing manufactured, which partners you're going to have, if you're gonna have someone to illustrate the game, how that's going to work, basically how you're gonna get this thing into the hands of other people. There's a limited amount that I and other people can do out there. You know, you're kind of just in the idea stage. It's still an idea in your head. Yeah, you've created a prototype, but at the same time, like, it isn't there where other people can play this. You can show this to people if you're going to a board game event, and they can look at it and be like, wow, this is so beautifully done. You wanna get this to the next stage, from the idea stage to then having that prototype, and also a sense of the actual costs that are going to go into that game. So nail down your logistics ASAP, and it will also help to generate some questions for you about things like shipping, international shipping, etc. You'll start to seek out the answers to those. The third tip that I have for you is to invest in marketing, but do it intelligently. Invest in marketing. Now, I know a lot of board game creators, a lot of people that are very creative and have incredible ideas I could never have when it comes to putting together and play testing a game or putting together just a compelling story behind the game. I can never do that. You know, I'm a marketing guy. But I will tell you that all too often I see a killer game that just has not so great marketing, and it fails to raise funds, or it doesn't raise as much as it could have had it had good marketing. So you want to think a little bit about the marketing component of your project, how you're gonna get this out there, how you're gonna have people playing it, how you're gonna get video footage, how you're gonna put together good, cool graphics that are gonna make people wanna actually play this thing. Think a little bit about the marketing. So when it comes to marketing, you have things like the hard assets. The hard assets are the video, their GIFs, their photos, illustrations, all those things that are basically assets that have to be created, that when someone comes to the page, they're like, okay, this is a high value game, this is really cool, I wanna learn more. It kind of gets you a little bit excited. Then you have more of the outreach. I would say the outreach marketing and also brand building. So with the outreach, you have things like building an email list, you have things like social media, you have ads, And then you also have like influencers, people in your industry or people that are into board games that are willing to vouch for your game or that are saying this is cool, might introduce it to their own following, bloggers, news reporters, etc. So you have your hard assets, and then you have your outreach, the things you're doing, the outbound marketing in order to get people interested and rope them into your concept. I want to take a second to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, and that is Fulfillment. Fulfillment is a turnkey solution for helping you get the products out there to your customers and to your backers. Whether you're doing a Kickstarter campaign or an Indiegogo campaign, eventually you're going to have to do order fulfillment and get those rewards out there into the hands of your backers. So what these guys do is they basically offer a streamlined service for you, and they take all that headache away. I highly recommend outsourcing this element of your campaign because it's going to make everything easier in the future. If you want to learn more about Fulfillment, I'm going to include a link down below in the description of this YouTube video, but in addition, you can also check it out on the web at fulfillrite.com, and you can learn more there. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the video. Now, not to like beat a dead horse here, but this is also why I say to nail down your logistics ASAP, because your marketing and the amount of money you're going to spend on marketing, on coaches like myself, on people to help you, other agencies possibly, that's going to factor into the overall cost you have for your game. So you might decide to factor that into actually pricing your game, so you have a little bit more intelligence and leeway there when it comes to launching your project. My next tip when it comes to board games is think about stretch goals, add-ons, and announcements. I don't think you can read my handwriting here, but it says stretch goals, add-ons, and announcements. Stretch goals are really common, obviously, with the board game tabletop industry. Add-ons, things you can add on to your actual pledge to increase the overall order value, and announcements or updates you can have to maintain momentum and interest as you're going through this project. Think a little bit about these before going into the project, because stretch goals could impact your logistics or the pricing behind the game. And in addition, it just helps to have another thing in your arsenal, your marketing arsenal, of ways you can maintain and mention and generate interest with your actual following. Number 5. How do you demonstrate fun? Now, this is kind of like I would say, a mixed tip here. You know, you could obviously get away with like launching just a really cool freaking game, man, and like you have a really cool video and it looks incredible, the illustrations, the pieces, like it just looks great and people want to partake and they want to be a part of it. That's totally true. I'm more of the mindset, I guess, of doing as much as possible to give yourself as good of a chance of really succeeding well with crowdfunding. So I always recommend, if you're doing stuff like playtesting, if you're doing stuff like going to a live event, which I'm gonna get into next, why not take photos? Like, why not take images and B-roll footage that you could use in your video? You can show people having fun. You can show people bonding together. You can get people, you know, show other people having a good time playing your game. I think that's great marketing. You don't necessarily need it. Obviously, there are many successful tabletops that don't have that, but at the same time, you can also give people a sense of like, this does look like a really cool game. These are real people playing it. Those people look like me, therefore I want to play this game. If I had to give you one big tip here to consider, particularly if you're like an amateur out there, you've never created a board game, attend live events. Attend live events related to tabletops, related to board game, related to the types of games that you play in your local area, or even traveling to a conference to do this. And here's the reason why. Number 1, incredible networking opportunity. Number 2, when you play test there and you show your game and people can play it, they can join an email list or an interest list. So when you go live on Kickstarter, you can say, hey, you remember you liked playing our game at the conference? Well, now we're live on Kickstarter. If you want to grab a copy, there are a bunch of early bird reward tiers available. So you want to use this as an opportunity for, number 1, for networking, of course. Number 2, for building up an email list. Number 3, I think it's great feedback, just the play testing for your game, so it's good for the product. And number 4, you can also take some really cool B-roll footage or some really great photos. It can show and create a little bit of social proof around the game. Number 7, my final tip for you is get an influencer if possible. Get someone who can vouch for your game, someone who other people rely on. You know, you kind of go to like around the country to different board game kind of niches or communities, and usually there's like one person who's like the ultimate geek. You know, they're always introducing their friends to this latest and greatest board game that we all have to play, and they're kind of like the leader of their social circle. So an influencer could be someone online like myself, maybe in the gaming industry, who writes a blog, who does a podcast, who does a YouTube channel, or it could just just be quite simply the leader of a social group in a given area. You want to get them on the hook. You want them to get them to play the game, to give you a testimonial if possible, and in that way introduce it to their following. That's really how you reach new groups of people. I hope you liked today's video on some of the board game tips and advice that I have for you. If you are interested, go and join down below the free course that I have out there on crowdfunding. In addition, I have a great ebook going through some of the tricks that I have for you for being successful on Kickstarter. A really great starting point, I think, particularly if you're more interested in like just an action-packed guide, one that's fast and easy to go through and easy to read. That's a really good one to start with. Finally, if you haven't yet, take a second to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Go and check out my podcast, Crowdfunding Demystified, some of the other links I got there in the description. This is all aimed at providing quality education, good quality content, and making it so you feel confident going into your project. You still have the know-how, the tips, the tricks, all of the strategies and the techniques, all of that I want to deliver to you. And with each new week, I try to come out with new interesting videos for you, exploring different topics of crowdfunding, from reward fulfillment to marketing to sales to even post Kickstarter. I want to try and cover it all on this channel. So take a second to subscribe, turn on notifications, and also give me a thumbs up on this video if you did like it. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me on this video, and I will see you next time.